Hi, welcome to another episode of the Mapscaping podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is a podcast for the geospatial community. My guest on the show today is Nadine. You may know her as the former CEO of the Open Source Geospatial Consortium. Now she's back with a brand new company called Lunate AI, where she is the CEO and co-founder. So in this conversation, we get into the messy and exciting intersection of geospatial and AI. Nadine breaks down the three types of clients she's seeing right now: government agencies standing at the edge of the river wondering whether to jump in, startups from the outside world stumbling into geospatial with big ideas, and organizations who know they need to modernize but don't know who to call. We talk about why she thinks the real value now is in experience and advisory rather than raw coding. We also get into AI agents and satellite data, the death of the one-size-fits-all dashboard, and why trust and guardrails are the actual hard work, not the demos. So if you are a GIS professional thinking about where to position yourself, or a startup founder wandering into the geospatial world, or someone trying to figure out how AI fits into their workflows, I think you'll enjoy this episode. Okay, let's get into it. Hi Nadine, it's awesome to see you again. It's been, I don't know how many years now. It's almost embarrassing to think about how many years it is since we've actually talked to each other, especially face to face. But I've been following your journey for ages now, following your career path, and man, it's been full of, I don't know, ups and downs, but definitely twists and turns from what I've seen from the outside. And now you've started a new business. You're the CEO and founder and probably everything else of a company called Lunate. Welcome back to the podcast. Like, some people won't know you, and I don't know why that would be the case, but there might be some people that have been living under a rock and don't know who you are. Could you give me a brief sort of introduction? Who are you? What do you do now?
Well, thank you so much, Daniel. Great to be back on the Mapscaping podcast, one of the best podcasts out there. And woohoo! Yes, for those who don't know me, which should be the majority of people, because this world is a big world, and the geospatial, right? We're mighty but a small community. We touch everything. So, hello, everybody. I have been in the geospatial sector for a while now, and I say I've seen it from, various perspectives. Most people know me as the former CEO of the Open Geospatial Consortium, the OGC, which was a global consortium of organizations, which I'm very proud. I grew to its maximum size, made it truly global. I think last time we talked, we started the AI working group and the digital twins and the gaming and the startups. So I'm like, that part of the exciting part of geospatial
Yeah.
and innovation. I've been mostly like a founder or a CEO or executive director of various organizations because I'm drawn to the challenge of either building something or scaling it. So I've had my own business in the past doing geospatial for aviation, management, aviation data management. And yes, now we started, so three of us, so I'm not like everything in the company. We started Lunate AI, really brand new company, about 6 months old. So I guess we're not talking yet. So if we're a baby. And I have a partner she spent a career at NASA, March Cole, and a partner that spent his last years before retiring from the AWS, solutions and geospatial sector, division. We're here because I think the world needs us, right? We're living in this world of AI. And like every other sector, the geospatial sector is like, whoop, what do we do? Who are we? Who are they? What's the intersection? What's the future? What's going to change? What's not going to change? So you can see how, we're trying to build this team who can help other people figure out this journey of modernization with AI.
Awesome. Great introduction. Appreciate it. So you're at the intersection of geospatial AI, which is, if we're looking at the Venn diagram, those are two pretty massive circles. What in particular are people struggling with? I guess. Like, so the companies that you work with, my guess is also the startups that you're working with. They might be more established companies. What are they struggling with in terms of that, Venn diagram, the intersection between geospatial and AI?
So I can categorize what we're seeing out there as three buckets for now. There's the bucket of government organizations, and these could be federal, national, or could be state and local. They've invested in procuring data, they've invested in their workflows, and then they literally are asking us, what do we do with this AI, right? Where do we start? So, literally, this week we were at an event. I did a workshop, for example, with USGS, with their leadership, to go over this process. And one of the analogies we came up with is feels like AI is like this river. It's coming and you're standing and you're like, should I jump? Should we all jump? Should we try? Should you push somebody else to jump? But it's like, but you can't just wait forever, right? You're afraid to jump because you actually don't know where the river is going. I mean, it's just like to me, the analogy was like, yes, there's so much uncertainty. So in this case, we're helping these government organizations, guess what? Go back to basic, why? Why do you want to do this? What problem are you trying to solve before we get just like blinded by the shiny stuff that's changing everything? So that's a bucket. The other bucket, which was not quite an intentional bucket, but it's happening more, is the startups. With AI, I think AI is lowering the bar for everybody, right? And I'm fascinated by these young, ambitious people from all over the world wanting to do big things now. They're not from the geospatial sector, they're not from the Earth observation, but they have big ideas. And now more than ever, our geospatial data is becoming accessible, right? So they're stumbling upon geospatial, but they don't know the field, they don't know the community, they don't know essentially what to do, what not to do. So we're sort of providing a validation of their products, of their architectures, connecting them with the right partners. Maybe we should call it the geo to market in a way, although it's not the geo to market, right?
Yeah.
It's really products, which is fascinating, really fascinating. So they're stumbling upon geospatial. We're helping them figure it out. And then there's a last bucket. So you got government, you got startups. The last bucket are for the people, again, all coming from this AI thing, is they're ready to do a project, right? We're ready. We have a use case. We want to modernize this workflow of border patrol or oil spill monitoring. I mean, you name it. Nadine, who should we talk to? Who does this work, right? This is where the network that we have built over the years becomes just so valuable. And this is what I tell people. It's not because we're sitting down and chat GPTing or whatever, like, who does this, right? Because you can get, who provides this data? We know the people, we know their customers, we know what their customers say about them, we know the projects that worked and didn't work. And so we're finding ourselves putting together almost like these consortiums of the best. We're calling it best of breed.
Yeah.
And then bidding on these, usually medium to large projects. Fun.
Oh, you're doing a lot. You're
I
doing a
know.
lot.
I say sometimes it's like doing three different businesses, but we're trying to figure out which one is the scalable, repeatable, right?
Yeah.
Most impactful business in a way.
What's your gut feeling right now? Like if you had to commit to one of these buckets, like I want to serve those people there. Do you have a gut feeling, like an idea of where you might land?
No, because if you think about it as a business, right, they're all, just ripe. Governments, think about how many government organizations and divisions within governments that are asking this question. So you have a huge market,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
startups, they're just going to keep coming.
Yeah.
It's it's like there's investment. I just came back from the space symposium, and it felt like you're in the room, and like there's like the tornado of money in a kid's birthday party. That's how it felt. It's like right. It's like you have investors coming to you. It's like, do you have ideas to pitch? Right. And then the last one, projects, because eventually you have to build. It's not all blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
strategies, roadmaps, and etc. It's just you gotta build. So I don't know. That's why like we're working really hard, because like it's the foundation for each, and we'll see how it where this where this goes.
We just talked about like you're not sitting down using ChatGPT. What do you, and I guess that speaks to you're not sitting down creating technical solutions or coming up with these kind of like in the weeds, use this Python library, don't use that JavaScript library kind of thing. What are you selling?
Oh, so honestly, it's experience. That's mostly what we're selling, because I'll tell you this between parentheses. We've been hearing recently, and this wasn't just me, it was other people saying that you can vibe code a solution, but now the customer is coming back to people like us and saying, can you double check this for me, because I really don't know. Right. So I think what we're selling is experience, which accelerates your pathway, because if you're incorporating AI as a government agency, this is a huge responsibility. There's accountability here, right?
Yeah.
If you're a startup, you're putting all your future again on us. If this is a few I mean, if it's a project that you have to do, you just have to do it, and it has to be up to a certain level. So I think we're selling this unique experience that brings everything and everybody in the geospatial sector, and how we have seen the AI, right, to change or get incorporated, whether as the geo, what they call geo AI, or the AI assistants, or now the agentic, right? You can already see, you know,
Yeah.
geo AI, AI assistant, agentic orchestration,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Agents. Yeah.
So that's why it's an advisory, primarily an advisory business, right?
Awesome.
What you gotta trust your advisor.
Absolutely. And so this sounds like up until now, like you, if you're listening to this, you could be forgiven that this is an advertisement for your company. And to be fair, I'm happy to advertise for anything it is that you're doing.
Thank you.
But I just want to zoom out a little bit here
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like mark this moment. You have decided that your value is in the experience and providing accountability, being the human in the loop, checking the thing. The AI is doing the work or whatever's doing the work, and you're checking it. And people are coming to you and saying, Nadine, can you be in the middle of this, please? Can you be the filter? Tell me if this is working, it's not working. Are we meeting the right people? Are we using the right architecture? Are we thinking the right thoughts? And so you're betting your career on this, that this is the right thing to do. And what I'm thinking here is there'll be a lot of people in GIS groups out there working, and they'll be thinking about themselves going, what should I be betting on? Should I be betting on my raw technical talent, like ability to code in Python or JavaScript, or should I be putting my eggs in another basket? What would you say to them? Like, how do they get from that? Like, I am the guy that you come to, I'm the girl that you come to, the lady you come to when the buttons need to be pushed, to I am the expert advisor.
I like expert advisor more than like just like the validator and the double checking, right? Because we're helping the decision maker figure it out A to Z. Bet is a big word, but I think this is the moment. I'll give you some examples. Okay. This is a very, very simple example. Alpha Earth, Google Alpha Earth, Google Alpha Earth, all over the place, amazing embeddings, blah, blah, blah. And you have, we had a sort of a nonprofit overseas. That's the other beauty. Like we're seeing what's happening all over the world and where different countries are. And they're like, this sounds great. I see those examples, like people, it's almost like magically they can come up with, here are the fields or here are the solar panels. Like should I look at this? And how do I look at it? Right? This is like, I'm saying, like the super simplest, there's no strategy here, right? So this is what I would say somebody else would be doing, right? And these are the sorts of people I'm partnering with. Like, no, you're not going to sit down and do the Python. You're actually going to show a customer who has just heard of this. I mean, I'm taking it as an example, right? It could be clay, it could be anything you want. And you can say, first, let's demystify. It's not magic, right? This is a thing, and it does these. You can, there are 64 embeddings, and you can, change them this way. And here are some scripts that we can do very quickly to show you. And they go, oh, can I play with it? Go play all you want. And then let's come back and think. This is where we can come back and think which use cases, right, would benefit. How would your work then benefit from this? So this is a very simple. So I would encourage people. It's like, yes, you're not coding anymore. You're showing the value, right, of this whole world right now to people who are just like, again, standing in front of the river. So it's like, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is the ease with which you can build an application. So you have an idea, go for it. I mean, I know people who have like no programming experience, software development, all of that, right? That you can build what I say a prototype very quickly these days. Go for it again, because this is again showing the value of all these different technologies.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, because it remains a huge bottleneck, we just did a whole initiative in London and the UK with the UK government. And you can create a quick proof of concept, right? Taking a proof of concept to operations, right, is still hard work, right? I mean, you can say, oh, I can count all the cows and the methane emissions or whatever, right? Blah, blah, blah for you. And I can demo it. Give me 2 hours. We can figure it out. Can you do it in a way such as a bank, right? Can do this every morning. Trust your results. Trust that this API or whatever workflow is going to work every day, everywhere. This gap is somebody's work. This is not AI. This is not magic. This is still somebody's work. So little things, building the applications. And the last one is what I'm seeing is even the building the applications, there's this opportunity to do many things very quickly, right? So now we meet with a customer. We had a customer in Saudi Arabia, and we're doing a flooding intelligence platform for them, right? It's like we partnered with NVIDIA. So you show up one day, right? Here are some dashboards that none of us have created, right? They're AI created. You've got AI risk indices. You've got GPU based on it. All right? You don't like it? You want to change it? We can do something else. You want to expand it? So somebody needs to have these conversations. This is when I think it's almost like you're going from just coding and Python libraries up a little bit, right? Closer to the customer's problem.
I've heard people describe this as moving up the stack. So you're no longer at the bottom of the stack. You're moving up the quote unquote value chain. And I realize that that's a pretty abstract way of thinking about it. But that's definitely what I'm aiming to do. I'm not interested in being the Python guy, the JavaScript guy, the whatever guy anymore. I really want to be higher up than that. And it sounds like that's where you're positioned yourself. And that's where I guess other people should be really thinking about doing it. That being said, like moving to production is something quite different, right? So you still need your technical skills when you move something from prototype to production. I don't think, from what I've seen anyway, I don't feel like enough people, especially in the GIS world, are taking advantage of these quick prototyping opportunities. I think this one-size-fits-all dashboard days, that they have to be dead. Surely you can make personalized dashboards for anyone. And just like you say, oh, you didn't like it? Scrap it. Do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
And even, I mean, again, I'm working with a startup, a French startup. It's called Globeholder, and they released a platform, I want to say a month ago, maybe not even a month ago. Again, I think these startups nobody has heard of before, and the founders you've never heard of before because they're coming from the AI world. They're not coming from this world or wherever we are. But in this case, it's even beyond it's almost like the dashboard is portraying the past and now, right, with generative AI and with this type 2, what they call type 2 reasoning, right? You can run simulations, right? Everybody's now talking about the world models, right? So you're getting closer and closer. It's not even a dashboard. It's just like, let me run a lot of scenarios in the background, like simulations, right? And tell you which is the likely scenario where you're going to put your new power plant, where you're going to put your distribution center, where you're going to, buy real estate. Fascinating, right? Fascinating.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Like I realize a lot of these startups you're working with won't be traditional geospatial, and that they come from the geospatial world. They come from a background in geo stuff. My guess is most of them just happen to be using geospatial data to solve whatever problem is that they're working on. Are there any sort of startups that you're working with that you describe as being sort of more, quote unquote, traditional in terms of the background of the founders and the problems they're trying to solve?
I mean, there are definitely. We did a whole challenge, a generative AI for geospatial challenge with AWS for the Middle East, Europe, and North Africa. And you get a mix. You got the tradition. I mean, I don't know what traditional is, right? Traditional is I'm putting together a climate solution or a disaster response. I would call this traditional geospatial or a supply chain, tracking. So sort of like the application side of geospatial, absolutely. And then I'm sort of again fascinated because we're almost like observing what's happening. Companies, startups, right? Like Whereabouts, like Earth Mover. So again, they're coming from the I call traditional geospatial, whatever that is, but they're using their geospatial experience. I think Fused.io it falls into that bucket as well. So they're using their experience to build these platforms to make it easier for anybody else to do it without having to go through the whole geospatial stack, right?
Yeah.
Here's your data and it's cloud native and I'm doing the MCPs for you and I'm connecting it to cloud for you. And, it's like making it ready. Do you call this? I don't know what traditional geospatial is anymore. It's just everywhere.
I think just the fact that we're using the word platform here, like there was a time not so many years ago where everything was a platform where you could mix and match and do your own thing. And for me, it sounded exhausting because everyone was building the same platform, essentially. That was my sort of uneducated interpretation of what was happening. So obviously, there's still people building platforms, which is great. Are you seeing more people building like end-to-end solutions like we will count the cars in the parking lot and as a service? So you just subscribe to this one thing. You're not building a platform. You can't come and tweak things. You're asking for you've got a question and we're giving you the answer.
I'm sure there are, this is from the recent UK experience, right? So this was under the Department of, what is it, Science, Innovation and Technology. They had something called GeoAI Festival. And we had these roundtables, Shadow style, so you cannot attribute who said what. But there was a mix of us sitting there, and I got to moderate, so I had the fun job, everybody else. And you got the geospatial people, right, saying, we can do this, we can do that, blah, 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 blah. And I will say a banking executive was sitting, right, quiet. And then we're like, why are you quiet? And he said, I'm looking at you and you are really sort of representative of what I've seen in the market, which is I have this requirement if I want to count the cows or the solar panel or something very simple. And everybody says, I can do this. Let me show you I can do this. But nobody's offering it as a product, as a business, as, again, going back to the thing that I'm going to, if I have to integrate it within my banking workflow or my insurance workflow, it better be there. I better trust you. You cannot just go out of business in 2 months or your service is going to go down, blah, 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 blah. And this goes back to, I think, in the middle of all of this, we're having many questions, like the roles of people, but also what's the business model? Like, eventually, how do people make enough money, right? How much do you charge for give me the count of cows? Or it's not that at all. It's, I think, where I'm seeing people go. I call them platforms. I mean, you can call them solutions, whatever. It's just like, you're like, here's a solution, whatever. And you can ask it all sorts of questions within that domain, right? It's not the solution to count cows or count solar panels, but you can ask it ChatGPT style, because that's what now the new thing.
Yeah. That's interesting. That puts a whole new twist, at least for me, on the idea of platform, because platform, I always thought, oh my God, like who is going to these things and building these, architecting their own solutions? It seems, although the tools do a very good job of sort of making it a lot more approachable to a lot of people, you still need an expert, in my mind, to go in and build these things and test them and whatnot. But this idea of creating a product or prototype service where you just, here is the count of cows every day, and we keep going back to cows, I don't know why, but here is the number of cows every day. But the idea of platform where you, within this siloed world, you can ask it any question, where it's asking a question, not building a workflow, that seems more interesting to me. That seems like a little bit of a breakthrough.
I mean, again, this is where what I tell people is we're all at the same place in a way, right? We're all discovering this. It's not like you know more and I know more, right? We see more maybe, but so you got this company in Canada, and this was to me is like, wow, because they are working with recycling companies because you can, again, they built something, right? A solution in this case where you can approximate the amount of recycling, right? Using their space data, but also other types of data. And I think that's the power, the major difference maybe these days is that I go back to the globe holder example because it's just fresh in my mind. It's not the Earth observation data and it's not just the GIS data, it's all the legal documents you can think about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you can say, same thing with the banking and all the regulations, right? That's the power. That's the real power. So I'll give you one more anecdote or whatever, because I'm working with another startup. And to me, it's fascinating. So it's called Extelis, and they're launching a whole new constellation of satellites to do SAR. And what's fascinating to me is this is how times have changed. Because before it was, okay, I'm going to launch. Am I selling the satellite or am I selling the data or how am I going to sell the data? And now I'm saying it's like, maybe by the time you launch, it's just like, I'm selling you the AI agent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? I don't think about the rest. I don't want you to think about the rest. Who knows in 2-3 years, right? It's just really all AI agents that task your satellite. I mean, there's a company called Novi where you get on a portal and you upload your algorithm, right? And it just goes and does it on the satellite. It brings you. You're not tasking. You're not. You're not interacting actually with the data at all, right? You're just saying, let's stick with the cows, right? I want the number of cows, right? Go. Here's an algorithm I trust because I created it or my partners have created it. This is your satellite that also I trust.
Yeah.
And just send me what I need.
Yeah. Agent, you figure it out. Like you
Yeah.
look and see when do we need to task what? And I guess, and as soon as you start thinking along that lines, if the logic layer becomes an agent, you don't need to be as rigid, like every Monday at 5:00. You could do it whenever you want to do it, right? Whenever you need to do it. It can be more on demand, and this agent can figure things out and change and adapt. That's pretty fascinating, actually.
And they're doing this, right? I mean, because I was at the Space Symposium, again, it's not like in full force. And there are
Yeah,
many
yeah, yeah.
experiments, but they're actually doing it where you get your agent on the satellite or the space station. Axiom Space is doing a lot of, again, amazing things in this domain of like total space. And the idea is the agents become autonomous. They are making the decisions. So they go over, they detect something. Oops, there seemed to be something. I need the better resolution. They task, their sister satellite or right, or sometimes even the same satellite, right? Which is fascinating, right? Why not?
That's going to be fascinating on something like Sky-Fi. So you set your agent up on a low resolution satellite or constellation. Do this, do this. Oh, I saw something. I have access to these other ones. I task that one. I make sure I use a different resolution. Maybe I use a SAR as opposed to something else, and I figure it out, and it just happens. Like that would be a little bit nerve-wracking. So letting something like that go out into the world, but at the same time, it'd be pretty fascinating.
But that's where we go back. Sorry, I'm not trying to do a commercial, but that's why the advisory, right? That's where the work becomes. Where the work is in the guardrails. The work is not in the demonstration. That's easy. In the proof of concept, that's also easy. Showing it works, showing it has value. It's all doable. It becomes, what are the guardrails? How you're gonna check, right? This is now where we're hearing more about data quality and provenance. I was just listening to snippets from the Overture Map Foundation because they just had their member meeting.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like how much now they're packaging in their data all the provenance and everything they've done with the data. So this is then because you want to trust. This is how you trust. Even Esri now has a website. I was looking at it that says there's like a checklist in a way. What is trusted AI for geospatial? And I think this is what we need to see more and more of in a way, based on our collective experience in geospatial.
I wonder if you've read an article by Jed Sunwell.
Mm-hmm.
It's about great data products.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's kind of along the same lines, right? Like maybe instead of just dumping this stuff in, here's a bucket full of stuff, make data products. And he at some stage in the article, there's this sort of curve of what makes a great product. When do you sort of, quote unquote, over
Yes.
engineer things, and when do you like? Where is the top? Where are you providing the most value? And then I think if you start sort of putting agentic workflows on top of that, it makes it a lot more interesting. But you're right. Like, when can we trust it? How much can we trust it? Those are important questions. And productizing things is tough. Like making it work all the time, no matter what. And if I was a bank, it has to work all the time, no matter what. If I'm, making a big bet on this, or if this is part of my strategic infrastructure, it's not okay if it just works every other Tuesday. It needs to work all the time, every time, and be there for the next many years, because that's what infrastructure does. We don't want a bridge just to be there tomorrow or for the next year and a half. If we're going to build on top of it, it needs to be there always.
So this is what we've seen because we're human beings, right? And this is a new thing. And this is, again, doesn't apply just to this. It's all AI. It takes one time for it to break on you, right? And you go, oh, I tried Gemini and it gave me wrong. It was because we don't, it's like this new thing. It's a black box. That's not quite the black box, but it's also not this deterministic thing that we're all used to, right? So you cannot be in this situation where it sometimes works because then you don't trust it. And eventually it's the human beings that are accountable or the business or the organization, right? We can't say, oh, it's the AI. Or maybe we haven't even crossed that line. I mean, I'm seeing also, right? Like, are we gonna sue the AI? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think about the human ability? So in autonomous vehicles, for example, like the human driving ability is like the gold standard, and the AI needs to be so much better than that before we're willing to accept it. And of course, there's a lot of sort of moral issues around that. Just like you said, if it causes a crash, who do we blame? Who do we point the finger at? That's really, really important for us to be able to do that. Place blame. Do you see much of that in the startups and things that you're working with, where people are they using like the human ability to look at data to analyze things? Is that the gold standard, or if we move past that, are they willing to accept Like an AI that is like 10% better, or does it have to be 100% better before we say, yep, great, let's have one of those?
I think this is one of the conversations that we can't have in general. It depends, right? We're talking to NASA, for example, that was last week. And to them, it's the scientific integrity that is non-negotiable, right? So in that case, they're saying, there are some use cases where, applying an AI workflow works, but they have scientists. And again, it depends on what you're trying to do, I guess, or what you've been trained to do. Maybe that's the evolution where it's not enough. So it's like it's not a blanket statement, right? We talked about trust the same way, right? Trust is a personal thing, right? If I'm comfortable with something, I'll trust it. That's why like the defense use cases are under a totally different umbrella than, science or just mapping, or I want to say entertainment. It's not entertainment, but right? Okay. It's not entertainment. I am seeing maybe extremes, right? The startups are going like, poof, right? They're ahead because they can do. And the governments, there's definitely a gap because they have to figure out the accountability, they have to figure out the governance, they have to figure out the guardrails. NOAA recently, the National Weather Service started its first AI pilot, and now NOAA has a chief AI officer who's overseeing this pilot. And what they tell you is the biggest chunk of time they're spending is on what do you want this AI to do, right? And for who? So they're doing like a weather forecasting, but they're having it tested by weather forecasters.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can't answer the 10%, whatever. I really,
Yeah.
I think it's just we have. It depends. It
Yeah, fair
depends.
enough. Fair enough. No,
Yeah.
of course, there's going to be a lot of nuance to that.
Yeah.
The answer to that question, I totally get it. I was just reflecting on the fact that startups, we really want them to go, in your words, pew. We really want
Mm.
them to, shoot for the moon. And governments, actually, I think a lot of their job is to slow things down. Like, again, getting back to the idea of if their job is to build infrastructure, then infrastructure, maybe that just happens slowly. We want changes to that to happen slowly so we all have time to adjust. What about the modernization? Remember at the start, we talked about those 3 buckets of
Yes.
people that you're working with?
Yeah.
What do people say when they know they need to move with the times, just standing looking at the river kind of thing? They know that they need to modernize because we all do, because things move on. We need to adapt and change. What are the big barriers to modernization for some of these companies? Is it simply that like what we have is still working, it's not broken? Or is it the not knowing enough, like in which direction should we go? Or something else?
Many things. I think it's a combination. There's one, is it not broken? I don't know, but things are happening too fast, right? And I think I hate to bring up, but like the wars, right? I mean, they need things happening fast. You cannot wait, right, for your current workflow to take 3 weeks even to get the oil spill. That's why again now you see, oh, I got oil spill, or whatever, ship tracking. Oh my God, like everybody now is doing ship tracking, right? So I think there is this hesitancy, right, from the decision makers to commit. That's why they fund experimentation, but the gap between experimentation and the operationalization, right, is still not there, because that's the big shift. And I think this is going to take time because it's back to the trust. It's back to workforce, right? They have a current workforce with roles, right? And you see, so we were working with a municipality in Saudi, right, on just a small, it's a very small actually proof of concept, right? But you can see how they're like, oh, we need to hire AI experts now because I want to do my own training, or I want to understand the models. I can't just like say, yes, here she is bringing me a model and I'm going to use it. It's like not going to work that way. I've heard procurement back to the business models, like how are we selling these things and the SLAs that are attached to them, and how do they work with your current infrastructure, right? Very simple stuff. Are you cloud ready, right? When you have that back to that checklist, like, is your data on the cloud? Are you using cloud native formats? Because if you're not, we really have to start there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about the data. How good is your data, right? And how good is your metadata? So there's a whole this whole thing, and then there's the people, and then there's the decision maker, and then there's the procurement process that has sometimes it's changing, right? But slowly.
And there's also competition. So like, I know this is probably not so relevant in terms of modernization, but when I think about startups, for example, there's like, who else is doing this thing or capable of doing this thing? Who could my potential competition be? Like, my guess is someone like you could help them with that. Like, how defensible is this thing that we're trying to do? Because if you don't know the landscape, you could easily decide to make another cow monitor when there was lots of other cow monitors, or someone else could just switch on their cow monitor, and then your business is gone.
And then put yourself in the shoes of the customer. Would you buy? I don't know. I started down this cow, and now we're starting. Now, if you're listening, you have to build the cow monitor, and it's going to be due to this podcast. And I think about this all the time. Would you go buy a cow monitor from a startup that is 3 months old? And would you? I mean, I don't know, right? Again, or oil shipping or recycle, or it's like you name it. Again, this one you go back, it's like, no, I gotta probably at least know who the people are, or what they've done before, or what they've built before. Or I go back to Seraphim. We had a good session with them on what they're looking for in their startups to invest in. And they were saying, now we're looking for the domain knowledge. So even if you've built something, right, for finance, I need to see a finance expert on your team, at least one finance expert. If you're doing for agriculture, right? Because again, this is where the difference, it's all in the edge cases, and it's genuinely understanding the problem.
Yeah. But I guess too, it depends on who's this for, what's it for, because if it's a bank, again, talking about infrastructure, then no, I probably don't want to buy from a startup that's just started unless it's a totally unique product. Because if I'm looking at the shelf full of cow monitors, and I'm a bank and it's going to be part of my critical infrastructure, why would I trust someone who just showed up? Why wouldn't I just take someone who's been doing this for years and has like
Exactly.
an established brand in the space? Yeah. But if I'm like direct to consumer, some sort of direct to consumer service, I don't know, tell me if someone's in my parking space. We could move on from cows now to parking spaces. Like, monitor my personal parking space and then alert me via text. Then sure. I mean, I don't need a massive amount of brand recognition in that space. I just because it's relatively low risk for me. I would be willing to trust a startup there.
Yeah, but then it's the risk. It's whether, right, there are applications where it's okay if you get it 80% of the time. Yeah, it's not the end of the world. And there are others where it's, that's why you got like, no, I need the 99.9999%, right? The parking spot is probably like not the end of the world if they miss, but yeah.
Yeah. If I gave you a bag of money, like a good bag of money, massive bag of money, what things would you be looking to invest in right now with your bag of money? Like particular use cases? Would you be into anything to do with Earth observation? Would you go direct to consumer? Would you want something that was servicing banks or government departments? Where would you go?
Actually, I would flip it. It's like, if you're listening and you have money and you want to give it to somebody.
Me. There'll be a link in the show notes.
I think I would build a whole, I don't want to use now the word platform, agents for everything, right?
Yeah. Right. Agents for
Think
everything.
about like marketplace of agents. You want agents for agriculture, you want agents for, insurance, you want agents for mining, right? That's what it was. Like, I would go, give me money so that we can build agents and orchestrate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that because they can do a better job? Is it because like agents, it's the word, it's a new buzzword? Almost, we don't talk about big data anymore. We just have data. Agents is the new kind of a buzzword. Or is it because, and for me, this was a bit of an eye opener when you talked about, platforms before and have this access to it just via chat or via an agent where I don't have to build my own workflows. I can just ask a question and get an answer. This won't work for every single use case, but like long-winded question, but why agents?
Because that's the future. It's really the future. Everywhere you go, you can see that the future is going to be millions of agents out there, right? I mean, this is the evolution, right? I call this is like the evolution. We started with like, I need all the data, and then we had web services, give me this data, and then we had APIs. To me, the agents are sort of the next level of the APIs. Instead of APIs and we orchestrate APIs, there'll be agents, and we're going to orchestrate the agents, because you got a marketing agent, and you're going to have tons of geospatial agents too. It's where the world is going, and it's not just me saying it. It's like, I'm not crazy, but that's the beauty of seeing the whole world and talking to people all over the world. This is the direction. So that's what and honestly, I mean, again, there's not a lot that you can say on an open podcast, but there are, startups building, operating systems for these and orchestration. It's just, it's coming. It's coming. It creates a different type of problem, right? It's like, oh, so now I'm going to trust an orchestrator, right? And all of that. But again, it's the guardrails. Guardrails, you put them because you got the experience in the field, in the technology, right? So
Maybe the orchestrator will be the human in the loop for the first little while until we build up that trust, until we've seen it done, X number of thousand times.
yeah. I was fascinated that I did a little workshop for a government agency a couple of weeks ago, and did a little bit of research of the human. And now they have the human in the loop, and human on the loop, and human around the loop, right? So you see, you can see where this, and they have acronyms and all of that. It's like, again, just fascinating. And it's not, I have a good friend who had a marketing agency, right? She was starting to train her customers on using AI for marketing until she drove herself out of business, right? And I think this is where now she's become an AI expert that trains people on using AI for all sorts of uses. See the evolution? I think it's going to happen for geospatial the same way, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I just cannot see how it won't. I really can't. And especially the more I use AI, I don't want to leave the chat window that I'm in. It's so much easier just to connect things to that, whether they're MCP servers or other agents. And you can already see it within. So Claude Code, for example, it's saying, oh, look, I'm just going to spawn X number of agents to do this thing and work in the
Exactly.
background. And
Yeah.
I just cannot see how this is not inevitable. Yeah.
Which is really cool. But I, again, go back to, we did a very tiny example for a government agency. It was like, look how you can use Claude to say, show me all the floods that have happened in the last 5 years in this area. And oh, by the way, create a Jupyter notebook and visualize that, like literally like this, ding, 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 ding. And it's like, what? How could this be? And I think that's why we do what we do. It's those head
Magic.
spinning of all the possibilities, like what you can do with all of that is what just like fascinates me.
Yeah. I think now is the best time to be a connector of these things than any other time. Nadine, I love talking with you.
Same.
It's awesome. Absolutely love it. If I'm a startup out there, or if I need some help with modernization, if I am a government agency, how can I work with you? What do I need to do?
The easiest thing, LinkedIn, honestly. It's super easy if you're on LinkedIn. Otherwise, go to our website, lunateai.com. And there's a form there. You can fill it. And I would love to talk to you because it's a two-way street. We're learning a lot from talking to you. And then we bring all of the collective experience of the people we're talking to you. That's why it becomes faster to help a startup or an agency, because we say, we've seen it before, they've done this, they've done that, you might want to consider this, please don't try this. So it's almost like we're accumulating all these lessons learned, and I feel like eventually we're going to have this body of knowledge, right, that I'm hoping becomes, again, maybe checklists or some agent. Who knows?
Agent. Yeah, who knows? Nadine, thanks again for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much.